to OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. Got a big hour for you. Ray Ferraro will join us. Ray was between the benches last night. Get his update on what he saw, what he heard, what it was like down at ice level last night. Quite curious to hear the difference. I'm sure there was a difference between what you saw and heard on the Florida bench compared to the Maple Leaf bench. Right. And, the Panthers, I said it last night, they were, like, laughing, man. When Bennett scored, he and Marchand, they were showing it on the big screen, the two of them getting to the bench, and they were literally laughing on the bench. And
it looked like it was like, I honestly just took a shot and it went in the net.
Yeah, that was it. Like that, it was Matt Murray in by that point, and
puck came right to him though. Like literally came right to. He was just standing there.
Yeah.
Like look at the coverage, come right to him. He's like, all right, I'll just put this under the bar.
And Hayes, that's a part of your out of body experience. When you look at the score and then Matt Murray's in net, you're like, what universe am I on?
Well, we did have. I thought about this, guys, last night. Did we not have a Gerry's or some sort of, confirm or deny 6 months ago saying Matt Murray will play games for the Leafs, Matt Murray will play a playoff game, like some sort of, did we not? Am I
yes,
in the bizarro
we did.
world?
My good friend, lifelong friend, texted me this morning saying, do I not remember a Gerry's where Matt Murray was going to play in the playoffs?
Yes.
And I said, I think you're correct on that. I believe. Yeah. So I don't remember
Who
what
came up
numbers.
With that Gerry's.
That was 6 months ago, though, guys. 6 months ago, that was. We were saying at some point Matt Murray will play a game, or Matt Murray will play a playoff game for this. And we were like 0%. Like I would love to know what the context of that Gerry's was and when it was, the exact date, and what we said, the three of us collectively said. Like that's more. I mean. I'm sure there's
we gotta
people
find
that
we can
somebody's
got
to find that, or somebody send it to us.
You want to know who we should get on tomorrow for 10 minutes and just pick his brain because he's upset. And he called me today. My partsy. Luke Wilson's upset.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
So maybe we'll just get a little football player perspective, a Leaf fan, what he's seeing, what he needs to see going forward. Because my partsy, I could hear it in his voice, a tear running down his eye today. He's pissed.
Very difficult to accept what happened last night. So I was in the building, but I was up top, and we have a guy on the line that was in the building, but right in the middle of everything, right between the two benches. You could not get a better perspective on the sights and sounds of whatever that was last night than from our good friend Ray Ferraro from ESPN joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Ray, you've been in that exact spot, hundreds of times?
Yeah.
Where does that one stack up for you, that experience between the benches last night?
Oh, that was something, that's for sure. You know what game I thought of? You might remember this. I don't even know how many years ago it was. They lost 9-2 at home to Nashville.
Yep.
Yes.
And fans were tossing some jerseys on the ice. And why I compare the two, obviously one was a regular season game and this one was way more important. It was like, because there was nothing. Like there didn't feel like there was fight or pushback or will or energy, like nothing.
How's that possible, Ray? Like, honestly.
I don't get it. Like, I don't get it because, like, they played for the first two games, of course, but then up to that 3-1 lead in the third game, right? They're in control of the series. Now they still get to overtime of the third game, and Nylander has that really great chance. Bobrovsky made 2 or 3 really good saves in overtime. Like they're that close to virtually finishing the series, and it's like they've just lost it. It's like it feels like Florida can just shift after shift after shift, just grind them to a pulp, and there's no pushback. And part of it is style, part of it is the way the teams play, but I think part of it is there's a belief in Florida. Like they just believe. And I guess that's what success does. Like they just believe. And last night, outside of Nylander, in the first half of the game anyway, there was nothing. They had 2 goalposts at the start of the second. Nylander had the breakaway in the first period. I can't even think of a shift where you're like, wow, they really had good zone time. They got a couple of chances or a couple of shots, and then the next line carried it forward. Like, there was nothing. That was a demolition last night.
Yeah, it really was, and we haven't even talked about Nylander because we've been focused on the 2 other guys predominantly, and we'll get to them momentarily. But Nylander, even last night, I have a difficult time describing his game because you mentioned it. He got loose a couple of times. He had a couple of breakaways. Now, he kind of cheats on them.
He's an opportunist.
He's an opportunist.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. If you're going to try to label him playing great right now because of them, I'm sorry, it ain't happening.
Well, and that's where I was going to go because on the 4th goal, the Mikkola goal, he mails in the check below the goal line. Like, it was unbelievable to watch.
Hey, guys, you could go through any goal last night.
Yes, very true.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is...
The first goal, they turned it over.
Go ahead.
Matthews and Riley turned it over twice or 3 times in 5 feet.
Yeah.
And then Ekblad's wide open. The was the second goal the Marner backhand pass?
The second one, I think,
Marner's was the third.
Marner's was third. That was the Boqvist goal.
Ray, before we get to the third one.
The second one was the one that deflected, the slap shot.
Yeah, soft lob.
Yeah, and that's probably a tough, that's the way it goes. The third one looked like a summer league play.
Yeah, that's the Marner play.
When if you just think about this, though. So he made the backhand spinorama pass that went right to the Florida defenseman almost at the center dot. He was inside his own side of center, but it was right to him. So obviously the puck comes out of the zone. Marner's 15 feet inside the zone. They pass it up to Reinhart, and Boqvist gets to the net in front of Marner. Boqvist had to come, obviously, outside the zone to be onside, and he still skated past him.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. We're watching it. It's crazy.
Like, where did he go? Like, after making the pass, which I honestly, guys, I can't think of anyone else that, or any other time that I've seen that in a playoff game. Like, it was stunning to watch. And then you're like, well, how did he get to the net so fast? Like, it was a brain lock night for everybody. There's not, like O said about, Nylander, basically saying, like, the bar for good or bad. I mean, like, the bar last night for, if you're looking for somebody that played good, that's a pretty low bar.
Ray, what do we played Gerry's percentages, and we started doing Mini Gerry's percentages.
Oh, boy.
So what's your Mini Gerry on them picking themselves off the mat and putting up some kind of performance tomorrow night? Like, dead honest.
I just can't believe they can do that again. Like, I can't believe they play like that again. I don't know. I guess somebody asked me, Noodles, the series against the Rangers. Yeah. They asked me, like, were you in that series? I'm like, yeah, it was 6-0, 6-0. Like, they were first 2 games were 6. Yeah. We didn't score until the second period of the third game.
Yes.
In the series. Yes. That's what if you, I might have this number wrong, but if you go to the 3-1 goal in Game 3, so that ended up, after that it was 4-1, then it was 2-0, and it was, so it's 12-2 in goals since that time. Since the 3-1 goal in Game 3, it's 12-2. And I'm like, they can't throw in the towel like that. It just doesn't seem possible. But who's going to lead the fight? Like, who's going to drag everybody's energy to another level? And the coach can have the best speech in the world, and that can only go so far. Like, somebody's got to be able to energize and inspire their team. And I just don't know where is that going to come from given what we saw last night. So I'm going to say I think they'll play better, but, man, if they go to Florida and win, that's a major upset for me.
I'm with you, and to follow up on that, let's say hypothetically they win. How Mini Gerrys? How likely is it, in your opinion, that the reason they win tomorrow is predominantly because Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner put the team on their backs? Isn't that as shocking? Like, wouldn't that be as shocking?
Yeah, I mean, I would say most times that would have to be almost like, 90%. Like they're going, but they've both been so silent in this series. Like I don't like Matthews has had I think 11 or 12 shots around the low key, like right in front of the blue paint around the front of the net. He's got no goals, obviously. You're like, geez, he's got to score eventually, but he just. I think I said this last time. Every time I watch him live now, he seems like he's behind the play a little bit. Like he doesn't lead the charge. He's kind of like coming in from behind. And I don't know if that's a health thing or a style thing or whatever it is, but he doesn't inspire that fear. That, like I'm looking at like what happened out in Edmonton over the last little bit here. So they're 8-1 since they were down 2-0 to LA. And part of the deal there, they've got certainly depth scoring. I think they've been just terrific. But their top end, McDavid and Draisaitl, I think we saw it last year, and we see it now. Like they're assassins, those guys. Like they're killers. Draisaitl, they needed him to check for 2 games, so he played with Podkolzin and Kapanen, and they shut down Eichel, and they won the series. Like I just think that in my mind elevates Draisaitl. I already think he's one of the best players in the game, but that to me, they're like, this is what we need you to do. He's like, yep, I'll take the challenge, or however the conference went, and he did it. And like that's what is on the plate for Toronto. Like do you think Florida's going to go there and play terrible?
No chance.
I don't.
They'll be ready tomorrow. They
Ray,
weren't
how far are
celebrating
you away
last
from?
night.
How far are you away from saying, from what you saw last night, that Matthews and Marner are assassins? That seems like it's eons away from even coming to that conclusion.
Yeah, I don't think I would even right now. Like it's not even an opinion. The fact is what we've seen over the last couple of playoffs. Like you can nitpick guys' games apart all you want, but it got down last year. McDavid won the Conn Smythe. Draisaitl, a couple of years ago when he was on one leg, and I forget how many points he had. He was like an amazing series, and he had that high ankle sprain. Like they have found it, or they have it, and the guys in Toronto have never approached that. And guys, if we go through this call next week again, like we have the last 5 years,
man,
like we can't do it again, can we?
Wow,
we might.
No, except the answer is no. They're not all going to be back.
Oh God, no kidding.
Right? Like we've done it 5 years in a row. I think we could probably just play the tape.
Mm-hmm. You would think. Although I might have thought
By
that
the way,
last
it's more
year,
than
the year
5.
before,
It's
or
more
the
than 5.
It's been 9.
It'll be.
Guess.
I mean, let's deal with that when next week if it happens, because you're right. It'll be a different. I think there'll be a lot different opinions this time, and especially with Marner's contract and Tavares' contract.
Right.
Like I think there are extenuating circumstances that are coming up with that. Ray, let's look at tomorrow's game. What do you need to see right from the drop of the puck for this to be either a competitive game or where the Leafs could be, not only in it, can walk away with a win?
When I think of the Leafs' best games this year, and it's obviously harder to think about it from a regular season to now, but when they've had to play and they play their best, they skate, and I'm not talking about with the puck, like they check forward. They're in the offensive zone. They They smother teams in the middle of the ice because they're really a pretty quick team, and their intention is to carry the game to the other team. And of course, that's not always going to happen, right? And it's hard to do against Florida, but the intention has to be right from the drop of the puck. We're playing that way. We're going in their zone. We're going to, whether the exits are clean or not, we're going to skate and push the pace. Berube said something before the first game. He said, I want us to take the game to them. I don't want to wait and see how they're going to play. And in the last couple of games, it almost seems like they've been overwhelmed and they're kind of like trying to dip their toe in the water of the game. I think tomorrow, clearly, you don't have any choice. You got to play forward with the puck. Be aggressive. When you chip the puck in, get a bump in, and get a second guy on there. Now, like Florida comes out of their zone at will. Like when I see Nico Mikkola skate the puck out of the zone with no pressure, I'm like, that's not Bobby Orr. Like, get to him. He'll make a mistake. Mm-hmm. But they have time and they have support. Like these last couple of games, like Toronto's not even close to generating a lot of chances.
Yeah, quick follow-up on that, Ray. Is that the identity of what the Maple Leafs are when they're good? Like, that's the one thing. We've said this all along. Like, we know what the Florida Panthers' identity is for the most part, right? They play hard. They've got some skill. They play structure. They got a good goaltender. What is the Toronto Maple Leafs' identity? Like, is it Craig Berube? Is it, he wants to play hard, play fast, play physical? Like, that's something that I think hasn't been defined, or we haven't seen it certainly the last 3 or 4 games.
I think it's defined in theory that it's got to, it is a simpler game, a simpler approach. Like that's what they've tried to do, I think, throughout the season is create a team that could play at this time of the year. The biggest problem, I guess, becomes is, you can only not be what you are for so long.
Right.
Like their best players they don't play the same way as Florida's best players, right? Like until last night, I think Reinhart had a couple assists. I think they finally got somebody to 10 points last night in the playoffs. They had 8 guys with 8 points.
Yeah.
Like you see what I mean? Like their identity, you can see it. Toronto's, I think, what they want and what they have are two different things. And the going got choppy. The water got choppy for them, and they couldn't approach it last night. Like they got pushed out really fast. Like even when it was 0-0 and Nylander had that breakaway and Bob made the save, the end of the first period, I think the shots were 15-4 or something. Like it was 1-0, and you're like, oh, that didn't even feel like, when you see a team go out and just like they exhaust themselves in the first period, and you're like, oh, that's it. They don't have any more. It didn't even feel like that for Florida, and as it turned out, it wasn't. Like they got better.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest problem, Jamie. That's a good way of putting it. Is that like their identity? I think they're 90 games into the year. They still would. I think the vision is more Florida style, but they don't have the players to play that way. They're kind of stuck a little bit in between, I think.
What was it like between the benches in the third period last night?
Well, not much to say from Toronto's side. Mm-hmm. Like the chirping was pretty one-sided. I mean, after a while, the only thing you've got is, F you. Right? Like, what else are you going to say?
Well, there's not going on when it's 5 Cobb.
The old Western League comeback.
There's no comebacks.
No, there's no. So you just sit there and, like, take jabs to the nose. Like, when there was a Leaf power play, you'd hear every once in a while, like, oh, there's another power play for you guys. Mm-hmm. And, like, there's nothing to say. It was, it's kind of like, oh, maybe that's good for you guys. Like, there's no push. There's nothing to say. It was one-sided. And as the game, I think there's a certain point, like in the third period, my play-by-play guy, Sean McDonough, asked me, he goes, "Ray, what are the Leafs trying to get out of here?" And I said, "They're just trying to get out of here."
Yeah.
They've, at that point, they're like, they just want it to be over. Like, what else are you going to do? The night is, that last night was, because the series isn't over, whatever is just short of a disaster, last night was a disaster. Like, right next to a disaster, because you still got a chance, right? But, oh my gosh, I would have never thought that was going to be the way that game was played. Every other game's a one-goal game. Game 4 was 2-0. Like you'd think like that's how the series is going to play at this point, and then all of a sudden they just get, they get their lunch handed to them.
Yeah, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Like it never stopped being bad. Like that's the amazing thing.
If you ask me right now, I'd say, what are the chances of a Florida Edmonton rematch? And I'd say probably pretty good.
I was about to ask you that. Like, if I gave you that versus the field, every other combination, would you take Edmonton, Florida?
You know what? Dallas still scares me because I think if they can get by Winnipeg, that gives Miro Heiskanen another few days. You'd think he'd be better. Dallas Edmonton would be a hell of a series. I think Dallas will win that series. But man, the way Edmonton's played right now, I think I'd take that. I think I'd take Edmonton, Florida.
Yeah, I've been so impressed with Edmonton since really, I'd say more Game 5 against LA. But like Game 3 and 4 at home, they came back and they won, but it was still kind of weird 7-4 games. But like that Game 5 in LA, they put on a clinic down there. And I think they won that game 3-1. And since then...
Yeah, well, that was the one they were way out. The shots were like 33 to 8 or 10 or something around there, right?
Like, since then, they have just... Edmonton looks unbelievable.
But you know what, though? That, like I say, like it looks like they've found something. Like, it looks like they've found a way that they want to play. And it's not just 29 and 97 dragging it. It's, it's depth. It's the goaltender. It's all of a sudden, Bouchard, his game is quiet. Like, just, but it's really good. And this Klingberg all of a sudden looks like the Klingberg in Dallas, like years ago. He doesn't look like the guy who was.
What about Brett Kulak?
Yes.
I thought Ekholm was going to be. No, Ekholm was a death blow against
Everyone
Vegas.
did.
Yeah.
And holy man, Kulak's been awesome, and Bouchard is playing the best hockey he's played this year, like by a mile. There's a stat. And I think the number is 14-2, that in games 4 through 7, in the last 2 years of series, Edmonton is 14-2, games 4 through 7. Ooh. So as the series goes on, they just get better and better. And Maurice said yesterday, before the game, that he felt like each series, of course, is different, and Toronto plays different than Tampa, and he thought, they didn't play very well early, and he thought the more reps of the series, his team gets better as that happens, and it's kind of what's happened in this series, I think, and it's the same in Edmonton too.
Yeah, it really does take a level of confidence to be able to weather the storm early. Like, Florida's down 2-0 in the series, they're down 2-0 and 3-1 in Game 3, and yet they just never looked like they were uncomfortable. They always felt like they'd figure it out. They did. Edmonton, the same thing. Like, the cream rises to the top. That's the beauty of a best 4 out of 7. That's the beauty of the playoffs, is generally speaking the best teams are standing at the end.
Yeah, it's the fortitude that, like, we're talking Florida in particular, that they had to feel some panic, didn't they? Down 2-0, 5 minutes into the third game. Like, you would think they would, except they never really got too far off track, and they kind of, the second period, I guess, of Game 3 saved Florida's season, because they were done. If Toronto wins that game, they're done.
Yep.
You're not winning 4 straight. I mean, I guess it does happen, but we know it doesn't happen very much. And so for all of this, Toronto can look and say, look, we were that close, and then it got away from us. Can they get it back one more time to get the game, get to a Game 7? Man, it's a tall ask.
Ray, before we get you out of here, I was speaking to somebody from the Whalers days yesterday, and he was talking about a podcast, and he said, whatever the podcast that Peewee and Dreger are on, how did you get the nickname Peewee? Like, who started calling you Peewee?
Joel.
It's Q, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
So what? He just looked at you and said, "You're Peewee now," or like, how did it come about?
Guys were sitting around, whatever, and he's like, Peewee, you're up there, Peewee, your line goes up there. It was in camp, and I'm like, Peewee? And all of a sudden, like, that was it, finished.
Yeah,
I'm 60 years old. They still call me Peewee. I'm like, I'm not getting taller, right? So this is it. That's going to be on the casket, man.
Yeah.
But it was Joel, definitely, 100%.
Joel Quenneville. Quenneville responsible for that. 40 years later, you're still dealing with it. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's and you guys know Joel, like, and he does it when he talks, like, his hands are going a lot, and the right hand is always up, like, extended, because that's the hand he makes his points with. Mm-hmm. And he's like, Peewee, your line's up there, Peewee. Oh, you'll go get us a goal there, Peewee. And we'd go. It was impossible not to laugh every time he talked because it was just his style of talking. It was, I'm happy for Joel that he's back. I'm happy to see him back in Anaheim. I think he'll do a great job.
Yeah, that team's an interesting one. Like, they've been really off the radar for a few years, right? Like, really just a team in transition, getting out of the Getzlaf era and the, Perry era and all that. And now it's like they got all these young kids, and Verbeek, another Hartford Whaler, he's down there running the show. It's
and then they go across town, and Kenny Holland's got a new gig, so there'll be a lot of change in California this year.
No kidding. To say nothing of Vancouver, and we'll get into that once the playoffs maybe come to an end. What could be happening?
By the way, Adam Foote had a great line in his press conference today. They were asking him about the offensive game for the Canucks, and he said, well, fortunately for you people, I was such a gifted offensive player.
Yes.
and if you ever saw Footy play, the puck was not his friend. So he was...
but he battled, man, did that guy battle.
Oh, did he ever. He was in that... Hey, guys, he was in that group of defensemen that you're like, oof, look at those guys, him and the Hatchers, and they were mean guys to be around.
Yeah.
He just looks like it. You just look at Foote, you're like, this guy is not happy at all. And this is going to be a problem fighting for this puck. Yeah. But that's the way it used to be. We'll see how it goes moving forward out there. Great stuff as always.
Lots of change. Right? We'll see how it goes in Florida.
That's right.
Tomorrow, right? Like that. Not that you're going to get that, but they need will. They need spirit and backbone.
Yes.
And if you can find that early and stay in the game early, then you give yourself a chance to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't let it go before, like, you can't go in there and just hope you can hang in there. That'll never work.
No, you have to fly down there believing you're winning. You have to believe that. We'll see if it comes to fruition tomorrow night. Thanks, Ray. Appreciate it.
You bet you guys. Have a good one, and we'll be watching. Talk to you soon.
We will. All right, there he is, Ray Ferraro, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Drive the built-in Canada fuel-efficient, fun-to-drive Toyota RAV4 gas or hybrid models available. Visit mapletoyota.com. That is a big part of it, the mentality of actually believing you can do it. And that's where the other guys come in. Like, again, we talk about the 5 guys who've been here forever. But, I got to think Tano's flying down there thinking we can win. Scott Lawton. You got to hope Joseph Woll. We haven't talked about him a lot today, but you get pulled, and it was pretty ugly last night. His team obviously was terrible, but a couple goals, you're like, I wouldn't mind.
Well, the Mikkola goals, though, that's the one. Like that goes
stop that.
Through him, and that's not even inside the post. That's a foot and a half inside the post. Like it's straight shot. Like you need to make that save. He was late on the play. Yeah, that was a bad goal.
Yeah, they were all awful, goalie included. Like every single one of them was awful.
Yeah,
you can't.
Something else last night, man.
Yeah,
but it would be the leafiest thing ever for them to go down there and find a win, and then everyone's back in the building on Sunday night, right? You get to a Game 7, anything's possible.
What a weird reaction for the people. Like, you know how many people I had to listen to today that are like, done, sorry.
Yeah.
Right. That will walk right back in there on Sunday.
That's the thing where if somebody said, well, you said you were done, but guess what? They're coming back home and I've got tickets. It would be a fascinating reaction to see people.
Yeah.
Because you know damn well they'll go back into that building.
Of course, that building will be
potentially
packed.
more torture.
Sunday night, long weekend, it'll be the craziest atmosphere you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
Bring it. Find a way to do that. You owe it to your fans to go down there and fight and try to pick up a win. All right. We got Pierre coming up. We got Rex Hoggard, day one of the PGA. We're tracking that. We'll get to that in about an hour. Overdrive continues. All right, we'll get to our best bets powered by FanDuel a little bit later this afternoon. We're tracking the PGA. We might have to add a player or two. I think that's reasonable.
I think at the end of the show we get dialed in with a couple of adjustments. We'll get a look at a leaderboard and make some adjustments.
Yeah, I like that idea. I will say, shout out to Quail Hollow. The course is holding up. I predicted yesterday the leader would be, 8 under par or something like that. It looks like we're maybe 5, 6 under par. Still a lot of guys still out there. It's always weird, the PGA, because you get about 40 or 50 golfers in the field you've never really heard of before in your life.
Never, dude.
And, always on day one or two are, lurking. And you're like, who is that guy?
Well, you want to know one of them as far Sergio Garcia. Have you seen the gear this guy's been putting on? He looks like you go into a booth at a carnival and you pay $20 and watch a guy do trick shots with red pants. And his gear is insane.
Yeah, what's the deal with that? Because
I
did
don't
that at
know.
The Masters.
I know he's got yellow pants with orange shirts. He looks like a carnival trickster, where it's like, come on up and pay $20 and watch this guy hit a flop shot backwards. He looks like a carny.
Just doesn't care, eh?
Well, I guess you're just beholden to the clothing companies, but I don't know.
Dude, how is this? Look at this guy's gear. How is he
wild.
still qualifying for these events?
That I don't know.
What did he win?
That I don't know, man. I mean, Sergio, he won the Masters in 18 or 19. I don't know if that gives you a 10-year exemption for the PGA.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
I don't know. It might. And he's got he's got world rankings, which I'm sure have plummeted since he left for LIV.
Well, I don't think LIV golfers get world rankings.
No, they don't. But I guess, you used to have whatever you used to have, and then it's an accumulation of what you do at the majors and other tournaments. But I don't know. It is a good point. How is Sergio still in there?
I don't really know. Doogie, look that up, how Sergio is actually wearing that gear, first of all, and qualifying for the tournament.
Well,
okay, so they're saying that's his Fireballs uniform, I guess, his
dude.
team.
I don't care if
it doesn't matter.
He gets paid $40 million a year to wear that gear. It's the worst gear on earth. Call Donnie Nichols and get some Peter Millar stuff on him.
That's right. Fire up some Peter Millar, join the club, and start looking the way you're supposed to look. But you see the report from golf.com or something that I guess Trump, when he was over in Saudi Arabia, was going to lay down the law that LIV is not going to continue, which I found it interesting. In the comments, people are like, aren't there other things to be doing over there?
He's worried about golf.
Yeah, and someone wrote, it's just basically Tiger, Trump is a fanboy around Tiger. He can't be around him without being giddy, and because all this guy wants to do is golf. Trump loves to golf, and Tiger is Tiger. So I guess Tiger was summoned to the White House last week and laid out to Trump, here's how to approach it, and this is what you got to do and say. And I guess he was going over there to basically say, you need to broker a deal, and LIV's got to be over. That's done. And it's going to be the PGA Tour. So I don't know if that ended up happening or not. Maybe, other things got in the way, like actual foreign policy as opposed to golfing.
Foreign investment, all of that.
Yeah, possibly there were other things that got in the way of that. But
so this guy's saying just shut LIV down and let's get this PGA Tour only and let's start wheeling and dealing.
Yeah, if we're going to make these arms deals and all this other stuff, also what has to happen is LIV's got to go.
So it's a bargaining chip. It's bargaining. Okay, we'll give you some artillery.
We'll give
but
you a piece of the White House, but you got to get rid of LIV.
That's funny.
So I don't know if it ended up happening or not, but
crazy.
So one story that we referenced last hour is Seth Wickersham of ESPN who's a really good reporter. He's got a book coming out about quarterbacking in the NFL. And in it, he's got quotes from, I believe, Caleb Williams, but certainly Caleb's father. Like Caleb Williams' dad is quoted in this a lot about how much they tried to avoid going to Chicago because the Bears are known as being a quarterback graveyard. You know, they've never had great quarterbacks. They've never developed great quarterbacks, to the point where they were looking at maybe the CBA and suing or going to a different league, like pulling back in the day when Joe Theismann was like, I'm going to the Canadian Football League.
Why wouldn't he just not show up and just say, trade me? I'm not going to
I don't
Eli
have the
Manning.
answer on that. Like, I haven't, obviously the book, I haven't read the whole thing to explain exactly why it came to an end. I guess the Bears told them, it doesn't matter what you think you're doing, we're drafting you.
I know, but Eli Manning said, go ahead and draft me, but I'm not showing up, so trade me or I don't show up.
I'm curious as to why they didn't activate that option either. You know, I don't think Caleb Williams is good enough, quite frankly. He was a really good player, first overall pick. Eli, I don't know if Eli was a better prospect or not, but he had the Manning name behind him, so a lot of power there. But what I find fascinating is he's had his rookie year. He's the Chicago Bears quarterback, and now it's out for the Bears organization and Bears fans to know this guy wanted nothing to do with you.
It's crazy.
And there's a chance he's still miserable there. I mean, didn't
well,
go
that's
so
the
great
thing.
in year
Like,
one.
it's one thing, and maybe he played the year and he got adjusted because Chicago's such a great city. He fell in love with the city. Maybe he's got a girlfriend. Maybe he fell in love with the fan base. I don't know. But now it's like, are you serious, dude? Like, we actually hate you a year into your tenure when we thought we were boys.
Doesn't he have to go on not the apology tour, but don't he have to, like, win back the fans?
Yeah.
Like,
what about your PR person to not, like, put a lock on that stuff?
Exactly.
That's
like,
what's
tell
amazing.
you all the dad comments, all the thoughts, all the stuff written down, like, that stuff's locked and ripped up and burnt, and it's never coming out. How dumb is that?
Well, once the authors got it and got you on the record, you're not. You know, this guy's got to sell books, and this is the first I'm hearing of it, so I'm not surprised because this is going to create a big stir. I do think Bears fans, for the most part, are probably reasonable, though, that they know their history.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's a disaster. Like, they had the first overall pick for a reason. You know, I think it might have been Carolina's pick, technically, but they had the first and the fourth pick, I think, because the Bears stink all the time. Like, they never compete. They never have. The only quarterback of substance in the last 30 years has been Jay Cutler, and he was good. Wasn't great. He was good. Right. And so I think you got to be careful if you're a Bears fan saying, how dare you? How could you really blame anyone for looking at that operation and thinking, this isn't in my best interest?
Right.
You know, this is a bit of a problem and a little bit concerning. Because there's teams all throughout the sports world for different layers, different levels, in which, you know, a young player would look at it, or a coach, prospective coach. We talk about it all the time. Prospective coaches that are like, that's just, I'm going to get hired there and I know I'm getting fired. It's a mess. It's a disaster. Ownership stinks. There's no management. There's no culture. So it's no different with players. You just don't generally end up going to that team, and then afterwards a book comes out where everyone finds out how desperately you try to avoid that situation.
Well, you talk about that, like, that would be a question I'd be asked, like, for if I was a coach and the Boston Bruins called me up and said, hey, you want to coach here? I'd be like, you've gassed 2 Hall of Fame coaches in the last, 3 years?
Yeah.
So what would be my advantage to go with, like, what do you guys do? Just one bad stretch, you gas the coach? Like, you would have to ask that question if the Boston Bruins called you up, man.
It's fair.
Sure.
It's fair to ask that question. Be like, maybe it's not the coaches, it's the lineup.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, like, gas Monty. Like, what if you were some unproven guy? You'd have to be saying to yourself, they just gassed Monty.
Yeah.
Like, what am I in for here?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And listen, some guys take it because that's their option, that's their foot in the door. But if you have options, that's why a lot of coaches say no, thank you. You know, I'm not even going to take the call, or I'm not interested. And you know, and your reputation, your culture, it's always at stake. It's always developing. It's always taking a different turn. Florida's a great example of that. Like, the Panthers 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago, were an outpost in the league. Like they never won. They never made the play. Didn't they go 12, 13, 14 years without making the playoffs?
Yes.
And it was just like, what's the point? Like there's ownership turnover. No one comes to the games. And now it's a dream job. Now it's like you're dying for it. Now, like if Bill Zito ever became a free agent as a GM, you know how many teams in the league would fire their GM immediately to hire that guy?
Well, he's an out-of-the-box thinker and very passionate, apparently really good to the players. The guys love him. And, Vinny Viola, who's the owner, and he's a unique person, put it that way.
Apparently they all are.
Well, yeah. But they built an unbelievable state-of-the-art facility in Fort Lauderdale. Like they go play in Sunrise, and I've always thought that they built the rink in the wrong spot. But all the guys live in the Fort Lauderdale area and that type of stuff. There's guys that take golf carts, drive it to practice from their home, go practice, and then back on the golf cart and away they go. Like they've created this identity there. And you're right, winning helps because everybody wants a piece of that. It's always the weather. I mean, the weather was great when I was there. 2006, we didn't win.
Exactly. Weather meant nothing for 15 years.
But now they've built this program there. Paul Maurice has been a big part of it, but Bill Zito, man, like Huberdeau for Tkachuk. We talk about it. It's a difference maker. Like literally.
That's everything. It's when everything changed.
Yes.
Everything changed. Paul, you could talk about Paul Maurice and everything changed. You notice how Aaron Ekblad was like a number 1 overall pick and a skill guy? Now he can't wait to punch somebody in the mouth. Nick Robertson scored last night. He's like, I'm going to punch you in the face for scoring. Like, he's up in everybody's ass. Yeah. And he's just like, he's a pain in the ass. Like, it's like you never saw that early on in his career. But it comes along with just getting grizzled and competitive and understanding what it takes to win. And sometimes Mr. Nice Guy doesn't work.
Yeah. I
agree.
Agree.
That is 100% the case.
Plays for keeps. That's what he does.
That's it.
I'll tell you that. Like that's the one thing I've noticed with some of those guys. Like, it's not about flash and dash. It's like we're going to make life difficult here, and you know what? You want to come through us? We're going to take a piece of you. That's what they've been doing every game, taking a little piece of you, take a little piece of you. That's and they've I don't know who termed it. I think it was Steve Simmons wrote about. Paul Maurice, and he treats it like a prize fight. And, after round, it's just body shot, just wears at you.
That was happening last night, even in the third. You could tell Maurice was yelling, like, don't stop, keep
going.
Just bury them. Make them get on that flight thinking there's no chance.
Yeah.
Make it 7-1, 8-1, 9-1, and hit and fight and scrum. It never stopped. It was incredibly impressive from that standpoint. Pierre LeBrun in 20 minutes. We'll get to Rex Hoggard as well, live from Quail Hollow. The Jays back in action tonight, Game 3 of their series against the Rays, and they won last night. Al Kirk, your boy, Al Kirk, with a big 3-run shot last night. And the Tigers will be in town this week, and also Subway Series down in New York this week. Soto back in the Bronx. That's going to be significant. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. We got Winnipeg looking to survive tonight. How are you feeling about Winnipeg pushing it to 6?
Well, they're on home ice, so that's
positive.
Different, right?
Yeah,
that's the difference.
They do tend to win on home ice and then get absolutely destroyed on the road.
Maybe let's keep a wrist shot out of the net in the first 10 minutes, too, from just inside the blue line. It's a better start. Get the whiteout into it.
Yes. Hellebuck's got to be great tonight. He has to be.
Yeah. Agreed. Like it's no secret sauce.
The whole team, too. Their special teams got to get like that. The whole.
I get it. You mentioned the wrist shot from Granlund. That's it's not Scheifele's fault.
Right.
That's on the big dog. Set the tone. He sets the tone for the whole team. Like if he's on his game and rolling and that building's rocking, you get on the board quick. Yeah. Kyle Connor scoring. He had opportunities in Dallas. He just couldn't score, man.
Well, he had 2 great A's. Like one-timer from 3 feet away, and Ottinger's so big, gets a left pad on it, and then a partial breakaway where, there's a little bit of pressure from behind. I didn't think he tried to go 5-0. He tried to go around him, and Oettinger just makes a solid save. But that's the other thing. This Oettinger, statistically, is the best goaltender in the playoffs right now. Like I think he's got 2 stolen games as well, and both of them are technically against Winnipeg.
Is that a stat?
It is a stat.
Game?
Stolen games, yeah. It's goals saved above expectation minus the goals against. It's like a I don't know. There was
that formula.
Yeah,
Is
stolen
there
games.
like
Hey, you don't even know what goal expectation is.
Yes,
goals saved above expectation.
I know exactly what the formula
anyways,
is.
the point being is he's leading the playoffs in stolen games.
Okay, tell me tell me how you get to the number, Hayes.
Matter.
No, tell me. Tell me.
We're up against the clock.
We gotta go.
Is there a thrown game stat? Because I'll create that one. I can own that one.
What about pissing one away? Is there a mathematical formula for just a no-show and just pissing it away?
Yes. Like, Corsi has his name. I want the Hayes game for when a goalie is just brutal. I want that stat. I'll put a formula together for you. That's coming up in the 6 p.m.
Hayes
hour.
game?
The Hayes game. All right, Pierre LeBrun will join us. Rex Hoggard from Quail Hollow, day 1 of the PGA. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.